The covers were thrown back on my innate inner guidance that I had denied and buried my entire life. I discovered that living my life in my true nature and purpose was not only possible, it is so much easier than the pain of denying it. And that's a quote from my guest, Kel J Townsend, who's with me here today. And perfect guest for this episode because I've met you through Natural Success. Next, I saw you were up and running the Create Your Destiny in November 2003 on the free live seminar, and I joined that and coached, trained under you, which was fantastic.
Different.
So welcome.
It was different.
It was different.
Yeah.
It was different.
Yeah, we've had
I
multiple cross sections, haven't we, over time? But yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for
You're welcome.
inviting me to have this conversation and talk about what we love.
Yes. Well, you were an obvious choice when I put my head. That's in Ian, my coach, his group on Facebook. I put a post up looking for guests and got a response I expected crickets, to be honest. And I got lots of people I didn't even know put their hand up. And then when you came in and said, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, fantastic. Like straight away, there was nothing to it. It was like Kel's an obvious choice.
Yeah, I appreciate
So I reached out to you.
I appreciate
Obvious
it.
choice. And today we're not just talking about breaking free from conventional wisdom, although that is what we're talking about. That's a big point of my podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that phrase, breaking free from conventional wisdom, but we're calling out all the bullshit that keeps people stuck. That's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
What did we just say? Get people to do something different. I love that.
Yeah, to
So,
think outside the box, to get outside their normal ways of operating and start challenging themselves to grow, to learn and grow and change and do something different.
I love that. We just came up with that just as we started this podcast. It wasn't in
Yeah.
our plan, right? Do something different.
Yeah.
And so that's a nice little theme for our podcast. Which, going with the flow, that's changed from. I'm liking the pivot with that. It's come up, so we enjoy that. So I guess to get more about you and your journey, can you take us back a bit to what life was like before you found the natural success work for you? Like,
Yeah.
sorry,
There's always,
it's just go on.
there's always a rags to riches story, isn't there? Yeah. Look, my life, it wasn't all. I'm not going to paint a really bad picture of my life. My life wasn't all bad. I had decent jobs and things like that, but I was a single mum and I'd been through some fairly traumatic stuff as far as life, as most people have.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think led me to this work, and I've been doing self-development stuff since I was 16 years old. I was always fascinated, fascinated with people and how we are and the human structure and stuff. And I did a lot of self-development stuff. But none of it really changed my life. Like, yes, it had benefits, and there's definitely things that I pull from there and still pull from those teachings. But I just really noticed, I got to a stage in my life where I really noticed there was consistently the same patterns of things coming up in my life. And it was undeniable. Like, this is the same as that, and here I am again, and I'm stuck in this relationship and it's crap, and like there's these things that just kept playing out. And
all these techniques and things that you pick up and do courses, you're picking up different techniques you can apply, different ways of manipulating and controlling your life and trying to make it the way you want it to be, and then still end up in the same old patterns all over.
Yeah. And nothing was changing. Like, ultimately, like, there was nothing major changing in my life. Obviously I was learning and growing, but not, my life wasn't what I wanted it to be. It wasn't what I pictured. It was nothing how I pictured my life to be. And I was 45 when I came to the natural success. So I'd had a long
Yeah,
time to
young
concretize
and
those.
still a baby.
Still a baby. I was still a baby. I was a wee lass, and yeah, and I came to this work, and I woke up in the way like that quote. I mean, that's the first time I've actually. You're the like it's the first time I've actually read that since I wrote it years ago.
Yep,
But it just brings me back to that moment where I realized that I was in pain and trying to get rid of the pain rather than stepping into my
relatable.
power. Yeah, yeah, and
Yep.
that just it floored me how much energy I was putting in trying to avoid pain.
Okay,
So
so yeah, it's a journey I'm sure everybody can relate to. Well, when I say I'm sure everybody, I think most people, maybe some people can't relate. That's fair. I definitely can. The same sort of thing, you know.
mm,
Uh, you talk about don't want to paint your life as a picture of trauma and challenge and I'm similarly so. Like I know my life has had struggles and I've been through pains, but you play the comparison game. There's always somebody worse, right?
yeah,
So
comparative suffering. So
you know,
it's
reminds me of
pointless.
the. I like the phrase "nobody gets out of life alive." A bit like some
No
people
one
don't
gets
like the idea that everybody's got trauma. I've seen some people argue that. Oh, but some people have real trauma, and yes, yeah, but
yeah,
but it's the
horrific thing.
wound, right? There's no personality, there's no individuality without trauma. Trauma's inherent. Like the birthing process itself is a traumatic process. Right?
Yeah,
Trauma's a fact of life.
yeah, yeah. And
So
there is no point. There's no point comparing our suffering. We all suffer. That's
yeah.
at the end of the day. It doesn't. You can't be human and not suffer in some way.
So speaking of that quote and that turning point, when
Mm,
was that? Because you talk about
mm.
struggling under the weight of dysfunctions, because we mentioned that with trying new things and getting the same results over and over and over again, poor decisions, ignoring gut feelings and things, and this trying. What was the turning point that turned you around? What you said you were
Ah,
45.
yeah, yeah. Maybe I was midlife and thinking this is not turning out how I planned. Like I don't know if there was one particular turning point but I can think of a collective things that happened. Well, I mean, there was, and I'm serious about this. There was moments, fleeting that they were. Like I was never in severe depression, but there were fleeting moments where I thought of ending it. And I just thought, and I, it's interesting because I think my motivation for fixing myself was for my son. It wasn't even for me. It was my self-worth was so low that my motivation was like, I don't want this life. I want a better life for him,
Yeah,
rather than better life for me. And obviously I'm really glad I woke up to that. It's got nothing to do with him.
yeah.
But
That's
I think that you
that's say that again
I
because
don't
I
know what
think
I said.
that's you said that it's nothing to do with him.
No,
That's
nothing to
yeah,
do with him. Yeah, it had nothing to do with him. But my motivation was, like I knew that kids don't learn by you telling them; they learn by watching and observing. And I woke up to taking responsibility for myself, um, and that's been the game changer. That was the moment where I went, oh, it's this is my life, and I need to start taking responsibility for what I'm creating,
yeah,
not
yeah.
blaming
Wow,
everything else.
wow. You're speaking, and I'm kind of getting goosebumps to something that also seems such an obvious, simple concept because we all hear that idea of, when you're on an airplane and they drop the oxygen mask to put it on yourself first.
Yeah.
But to take it to that deeper level, because what you're speaking about reminds me of the end of Williams Whitecloud's book, The Magician's Way, when he's got the main character in there, the protagonist, Mark Vale's going, I've got a family to look after, I've got to support my kids, I've got to make money to support my... And it's like, you know, his mentor in the time's like, good story, but you just articulated the very thing that keeps people in poverty consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, because in order to serve your family, you need to serve your heart first, and that's... And I've often loved that, because that's... if you what are you going to model to your kids? Are you going to model that you're giving up
Yeah.
your dreams and your heart and your life and sacrificing for something else other than yourself, and never really, so that they
Yeah.
can then do the same thing and repeat that cycle over again? There's... Right, and it seems such an obvious thing, but it's not. It's
It's
a
not,
lot
no
of
one
these things are
gives you
so
a
obvious,
hand.
but you got to take them seriously, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it is the most obvious thing, but we have this idea of who we need to be to get what we want. And that leads us down the path of acting in a way that doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve anyone by you know by resolving that, by being in that space of going, well, now I need to be a good person, or I need to, I need to do good things, or I need, a good thing to do is to sacrifice myself. Well, no, it's not. It's not serving anyone for me to sacrifice myself. It just builds resentment and confusion, and puts expectations on people, and that they don't know exist, and all
Yep.
sorts of stuff that happens when I go down this path of, like, that's what I'm taught when I'm growing up, when I'm a kid, that I need to be a good person. Now, for me to be a good person, really, all I need to do is take care of what's going on for me. I can't be in service of my son or anyone else if I'm trying to be good. I think that quote that you sent me this morning. What is that? The Alan Watts one.
Yes. I can
The
bring that up. Hold on.
the
It's one
path
about
to hell is paved with good
good
intention.
intention. Yep.
The path to hell is paved with good intentions. Yeah, it's a powerful quote, and so true in every way. And whether it's self-serving or serving others.
Yep.
Um,
What's his?
no,
I've got the whole quote here. Because the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Because all the do-gooders in the world, whether they're doing it for others or doing it for themselves, are troublemakers on the basis of "kindly let me help you, or you'll drown," said the monkey, putting the fish safely up a tree.
I love that. I love it. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I mean, it strikes me, because you see a lot of people on a cause, right? You got to do this because that's the way it is, because that's the way the rules are, because that's broken and that needs... And it's like, honestly, there's a hubris in thinking you know what's going on and what needs to be done to fix it.
yeah.
It's, and a terrible fear underneath it of if I just allowed things to outflow the way they naturally would, then I can't guarantee my survival in that, right? That's the... I can, yeah, I'm not here to judge people for that feeling. I know that feeling very, very well.
All been there. We've all been there. But we have an idea of how it needs to be, and in relation to that quote, what we're talking about being, you go into parenthood going, I want to be a good parent, and no one
Hmm.
goes into parenthood, you know, not wanting to be a good parent. But then we have an idea about what that means about us, and what we need to do, and what conditions do we then need to meet to do that. And we're involved in this idea of who we are and how the world is and how others are and how, we perceive ourselves to be. And it's just not the truth. it's just not the truth. I have to consistently stop myself from helping my son. He's 17 now. He's very capable. He's a very powerful young man. But I still have to stop myself from helping. Like even just I see myself. Yesterday I even thought I'll just go up and you know clean his room so when he comes home he's gonna. Then I just went, stop it. Why
Yeah,
are you?
nice.
Yeah. What are you doing that? Like what is that proving? It's there's doing nice things for people, but there's this over indulgent where we're trying to prove to ourselves that we're good people or good parents or good members of society or community or whatever.
Yeah, I want to make a note of. Might come back to that because that's. We'll see if the question comes up because it might be a bit early to go. How do you tell the difference between when you're doing it because it's the correct action, the pure action to be taking? Because
Mm.
sometimes helping somebody without asking and going and helping them is the right thing to do, and then sometimes it's not. So I think we'll probably cover this sort of
We'll get
discernment.
to that.
Yeah, but that's on that point, right? That cleaning out room's a good example of why you're doing it. Like that's the.
Wow. Let him live in
Um,
squalor.
uh, all right, so we've touched on a little bit, but speaking to the conventional wisdom,
Okay.
part of your journey would have been this sort of certain conventional wisdoms you had to let go of. We discussed it a bit in the parenting about, or in a general sense of, I want to be a good parent and stuff like that. And just even outside parenting, just in general life, what beliefs made you feel powerless before, and unworthy and stuff like that, and what shifted when you realized that you weren't.
Uh, Conventional wisdom. What do I have to let go of? I had to. It's an interesting one because I had to really be two things. I had to allow myself be with the pain that I was feeling, my triggers, what was coming up for me, what the truth of that, and the beliefs that were underlying that pain. I had to be open to that, and I had to be willing to die to what I believed was true. I had to be willing to die to my identity, to my idea of who I am, what I'm about, what the world is about, what I think is going on in the world. I had to be willing to die and really face the truth of what my pain was saying and what it was telling me to do, and not acting on that. Use my will to really not act on what my pain was directing me to do, because that was what's creating the patterns in my life, right? This is just feeling the pain and reacting to it, and just feeling another pain and reacting to it and trying to get rid of that pain rather than just going, okay, well, there's information in this for me. And
Yeah,
that's a huge thing, to be able to adjust your perception of pain and conflict and stress as something that's working against me, as to now that's actually something that I can use. It's something that I can lean into to get information about what's really going on, not what I perceive is going on, and adjust that, and transmute it, because that's what we do as alchemists, is
yeah,
we transmute the pain into something creative. Uh,
yeah. So you
yeah,
talk a bit about being a helper. Um, you know, so you've mentioned it. You've mentioned it a couple of times. So I'm just going to go down that, and then you've mentioned it in passing with me that you've got a helping tendency, and then you're talking about helping your son. So it's come up again.
yeah.
But
And you've got to
that's
do with
one of
helping.
that's. I mean, for people that not necessarily trained in natural success and stuff, you kind of that's obviously one of your rules is sort of I need to help because I imagine,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, the underlying belief, the underlying belief is that I'm not lovable if I'm not helping. If I'm not lovable, if and I'm not worthy of love, if and how I resolve that is by uh, the underlying belief is I'm essentially is that I'm bad. There's
Yeah.
something bad about me, and now I need to fix that by being good. And my which is many people have this underlying belief, and a similar but not the same. We'll resolve it by helping people, and it's not an empowering. There's a way to help people in an empowering way, and there's a disempowering helping. The sharing wisdom and being in service and not needing something from them uh, is different to actually helping people in the hope that they'll validate you and validate your
Mm-hmm.
sense of your self-worth and your feelings of separation and unlove, that you're not lovable and you're not worthy. And so there's a very distinct difference, and we don't want to say helping people's bad, because that's not true.
No, of course.
You
Um,
know,
do you remind me? Just recently, I was down by the river working through some of my choices, and one of the choices I've through this work that I've, for people that don't know, just I've got what do you call it, land of plenty derived choices. I've worked with my coach to elicit choices more for my life. One of the choices I've got for my life is to be a high caliber good friend to my valued social relationships. I was working through that choice, and that's I'm living. I've moved away from a lot of my friends. I'm not connected with them. I'm not close to them. And that's so. It's one of those. How do you be a good friend to people when you're not even in their vicinity, right? How do I reach out and help if they need help? I'm not nearby. There's not much I can do, and it was really interesting that working through those choices, getting down to that fundamental of it. Because some of the imagery I got was kind of like a street lamp, and kind of it doesn't do anything physical; it just shines, right? And it was sort of these ideas that I had about being a good friend meant I need to be available. I need to take certain
yeah,
actions. I need to help. I need to be showing that I'm doing certain things. And when I worked through those choices, I got the crux of it that there was a lot about just being myself and just being there, and it really was much more of a state of being than it was much else. And I found myself reaching out to one of my friends and just who needed some encouragement, reaching out, just going, "I see you," like basically a long-winded way of going, I do see you, and there was nothing more to do, and it was just sort of
yeah,
that I didn't need to physically do anything. It was just this natural, but right in the middle of doing my choices, it was just compulsion. Pick this up and just purely just go.
yeah.
I
Well,
see like, and it was yeah, that just getting
it's a
clear on the right actions for things sometimes is
yeah, and it's a great example of when you take care of your own, you take care of your own stuff and your own, what pain, like that. I mean, there's a pain there, right? That if I'm not a good friend, what's going to happen?
yeah.
All of those sorts of things, and then
If they
then
don't think I'm a good friend, if I don't behave the right way, am I going to end up alone? Are people going to hate me? Right? It's kind of yeah, like that's
there's
and my
judgment, self-judgment, there's fear of judgment, fear of rejection. All of those things are going on. But all you had to do was take care of that and go acknowledge, there's something underlying here. There's a pain.
yeah,
There is a conflict that I'm experiencing. So there's something that I'm at odds with here. And when you take care of that, you bring yourself into presence. And now you and I both know if I'm with a friend and they're not present, they're not helping me. they're
yeah,
not they're not present with me. They're not able to sit with my pain. But if you're able to sit with your own pain, you can sit with anyone else's. That's the truth. And if you can't sit with your own pain, you can't sit with anyone else's. That's the meaning of compassion, is to be with pain. It's to
you
be
know.
with pain, and that's
Yeah.
the truth. Is
Well,
and I stress this in the trainings. Is the only thing that you need to take care of. The most important thing in the world. Can you imagine if everyone just took care of their own pain,
yeah.
of
Instead of
what's
trying to
going on?
avoid it and pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I see that on Facebook posts a lot sometimes. I saw one yesterday, and I need to be careful not to react to these because I get in my own ego about that's not how it is. But another one about you know, the another quote about a calm mind. If you can get yourself calm mind, like, you can tell a real friend because they're the ones that make you feel calm. That's how you know
Oh
that they're your tribe. And I was like, and it was some famous author or something said, and there's people sharing it and going, yes, that's the truth. And I'm just like, no, it's not. Like that's just not true. That the only people that are your tribe are the ones that make you feel calm all the time.
no,
Like I was just that's not going to work. That's because it's inherently not. You know, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. You just got to obviously look at the world and go, are true friends going to pull you up on stuff and challenge you on
yes,
things and
hell
encourage you
yeah.
to stretch into yourself? And it's like that's not going to be calm and at all.
It's gonna be
It's going to be
contested.
loving, right? It'll be
Yeah,
loving and warm, but yeah, and I just these little things. I find myself a little hyper aware to these things now. When you see people use words like peace and calm, I'm like, what else? And you get that's
yeah,
all you've talked about. Yeah, that's death, right?
yeah. It is. It's a balance and peace and calm. Like I mean, we all want balance, and we all want peace, and we all want to feel calm, and all the rest of it.
And there's a place for it too. Not to
Yeah,
say you got to be uncomfortable all the damn time, because exactly my point about that doing those choices. Part of that exercise is to get calm so you can hear yourself, right? And then get in touch with your intuition. But then you come out of that again. You can't stay in there forever.
no, no. The world is full of pain and conflict and stress, and people disagreeing. People are going to disagree with you. That's okay.
Yeah,
That that it's okay. And the thing is that we perceive that that's bad. And let's go down that path, because this
mm,
this is a societal agreement that we have, that conflict and stress is bad.
yep.
I spent 30 years trying to get rid of stress and conflict, and all it did was cause more
Make
stress and
more.
conflict. Because that's the way the consciousness works. What you resist persists.
Yeah,
And if we're avoiding conflict in our lives, we're missing an opportunity, beautiful opportunities, to see the truth of what's going on for us. And we do as a society, and it's the real pandemic. It's the real epidemic in the world, is that conflict mustn't exist.
yeah. When it's
We
such a good opportunity to learn about yourself too,
Yeah.
right? That's because when you go into conflict, your shit comes up. I mean, just here today is a good example of when I was preparing to start this podcast. Um, my USB ports on my laptop just stopped. And I'm going, oh, why is this always that typical? Like straight into you, and it's such a good opportunity to go, what's going on with me? And then it's just because you start to see all your own limiting belief systems, and once you get practiced at that, you start to be able to you go into the conflict, and you just be able to go. You can almost go.
Yeah.
You start voicing exactly what your bloody fundamental issues are.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. What am I
this shit
believing to
always
be
happens.
true?
This shit always, doesn't matter how much prep I do, it's just gonna fucking right. It doesn't like it.
It's all going to shit.
And
Nothing's working. Why has this
so
happened? And it is. It's a perception that it's happening to us.
yeah,
We have this perception that it's all happening to us, and when people disagree with us, it's happening to us. When when things don't go our way, it's happening to us. And it doesn't even, like you said, it doesn't even need to be other people. It can be inanimate objects. And
yeah,
we get angry about it. We get angry
yeah,
with the dishwasher when it doesn't work, or it's crazy, right? We're engaging in this thing because it's okay. Now it's a condition that needs to be met for me to get what I want. is, I need everyone to agree with me. I need to be at peace. I need to, have everything flowing, and, everything's got to be feeling great. Well, I'll tell you, when you go for your heart, you're not always going to be feeling comfortable about that. And that's where the juice is in being able to explore that and go, okay, well, what is the conflict? What is my resistance to this? What is my pain? What's the resistance to that? And allow it to be, because it is how the world is. It is how we are as people. We are humans, perfectly flawed humans. And we're, in the premise of the work that we do, we go, well, we're actually not just humans. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And just because the experience is coming to you in thoughts and feelings doesn't mean it's fact. And we just get it. We get these thoughts and feelings and we just go, well, that's the fact of what's going on.
Yep.
And now I've got to react to that. And there you are, resolving your pain, trying to get rid of the pain or what you're afraid of, trying to get away from what you're afraid of rather than going for what you really want, which is, generally altruistic, it's innate, loving, kind, that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
But we're so involved in trying to get away from what we're scared of that we miss the point.
Which may or may not be real, right? That's the funny thing about fear. I think sometimes it's absolutely definitely true, right? The thing you're afraid of is happening, but then so often it's not, and you're reacting to an illusionary. That's how I see it a lot. Sometimes we're just so sure of what's going on that we act according to what we think's going on, but it's
Yeah.
an illusion, and now we're not actually reacting to real reality. It's one of the things I love about this work is that it is about getting to real. It sounds like woo woo and kind of getting into seeing through the veil, but there's a big aspect of this which is about seeing actual reality, what is actually really happening, not what we think is happening or what we feel is happening, and then reacting to, and then otherwise you're not reacting to real life. And you can either try and control that by doing all sorts of scientific studies and millions of numbers and lots of graphs and get a tiny sliver of what, or you can just see what you can see, right?
Yeah.
And get over your own bullshit
Yeah.
and don't
Yeah.
react to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Step outside. Question. And there's a beautiful, Byron Katie stuff kind of. I did a lot of Byron Katie stuff before I came to Natural Success, which really set me up for accepting the premises that we work with. I mean, it's not a belief system. We work with premises and we apply them and they work. and they're incredible like that. But it's one of the premises that we have is that we're a spiritual being and we come here with a purpose and something to create. We come with an innate pull to create something. And I think most people feel that, they feel that. When you say that to anyone, they'll just go, yeah, that they may not know whether it's true or how it's true or whatever, but they can feel that there's a sense of, that they came here to create something. There's a purpose or a mission that they came here for. And somehow we're sidetracked down this path of, not creating that, creating something else. But we blame the circumstances for that instead of taking responsibility for what we're creating. And the science that's out there now, and it's constantly being developed, because about consciousness and how it works and how we work. And it's backing up what we teach, which is fabulous. It's like the more the science goes into it, it's backing up what we teach. And the base thing of what we're talking about here is that we have emotions and we act from those. They direct us on how to act, and that's what drives our actions, our emotions. And if we don't question the emotion, then we're just acting on the underlying beliefs. We're acting on the story behind the emotion. And that's a powerless way to live. I know it because I've lived it. It's a powerless way to live, to go, well, this is I just accept that what I'm thinking and feeling is the truth, and I'm just going with it. And what science is backing up, and what we teach, is that those emotions are referred to from the past.
Yeah.
You refer to the past for what's going on in the present, and it's not relevant. So, our lives, if you think about it, our lives are a result of our actions. Like, what we're creating in our lives are a result, and people can be very resistant to this, because they'll
Mm-hmm.
then go, oh, but what about this, and that happens, and that happens, and that happens. We have proof that what we create, when we create something we don't want, we have gone through a set of actions. We've taken a set of actions that lead us to that end result every time.
Mm-hmm.
And we when we don't question what's the truth, when we don't go, with the Byron Katie stuff, it's like she has a question in her her structure that says, is this 100% true? Is this true? How do I know it's 100% true? 2 questions. Is it true? Is this true? Is what I think is happening true? How do I know it's true? And if you go, okay, well, you could say, well, I know it's true because that person did that or whatever. You go, well, how do you know that? And how do you know that? And how do you know that? And eventually, and I'm not asking, I'm asking, by what mechanism do you know that? By what mechanism do you know that that's true?
Mm-hmm.
And you go, well, actually, I can't. When you get to it, you can't actually know anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't. But our brains have to know. Our consciousness is on this, it thrives on knowing, needing to know where we are, and just needing to know how things are in the world, needing to know where I am in relation to what's happening, where, what's threatening me out there, like that's our need to know, and it's killing us.
I know I caught myself in a thought pattern that I've noticed a number of times before, because I've got a history of being on teams and never feeling comfortable on a work team I've worked with, never feeling like I fit in, always feeling like I'm kind of the odd one out, the one that needs to follow the rules, and I don't know what the rules are, and all this, and this always end up in conflict with people when I'm trying my best and what's going on. And one of the patterns that I know comes up for me is it's not my fault. That's just people for some reason don't, now if they knew who I really was, they would have just realized I had the leadership skills and everything, but they don't recognize that, right? But I've seen that same pattern play out when I was a little kid at school, when I was in high school, in my
Yeah.
jobs, in my teams, over and over again. And part of it comes, well, it just must be something about how I look, right? But over that long period of time,
It must
right,
be how
that
you
I've changed, so, right? But it's kind of, but because it's always them, right? It's that team
look.
didn't recognize me, that team didn't treat me properly, they didn't treat me right, they, right,
Yeah.
and it's so convincing that you find your head just going through, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them, and then, but it doesn't take intuition to look at it and go, that doesn't make any fucking sense, right? It
Yeah.
can't. It's just, and probably because I've trained a bit, I'm used to catching myself thinking and just going,
Yeah. We all have
that
our
that that I can
flavors.
smell it. I can smell my own bullshit in my own head, right? And that's but it's nice to have a chat like this because I was just walking down the hallway at home, right? And now I'm just remembering I had this thought today about how it was, but it doesn't make any logical sense.
No one's in the hallway. It was just you.
Yeah, but they're referring to the past of every time I've been on a team or worked it's ended up the same way every single time with this same
Yeah. Yeah.
feeling, this same conflict, this same sense of not being good enough, of not being part of the team over and over and over again. There's only one common denominator to all of that.
Yeah, well, I think that's, when you talked about the turning point at the start, like that was where I was at. The common denominator here is me. It's
Yeah,
undeniable. I've been doing this and I'm still doing it. Why am I still doing it? Was where that was the pain. Oh, why am I still doing this? Why am I not living why am I not living this beautiful life that I imagined for myself when I was younger? And it's because I haven't allowed myself to connect with that and know myself.
yeah,
And we all have a resistance to the things we don't like about ourselves.
mm,
And we all have things we don't like about ourselves. We don't have to love them. We don't even have to like them, but it's in the acceptance of it that this exists within me.
yeah,
That's where the freedom is.
yeah. I think we've touched on this. I'm reading through some of the questions I've got here. I'm going to go because
Lots of
we've
questions.
touched on what's the biggest lie about successful transformation that people need to unlearn? And we already talked about the I think bring up the tension is bad seems to be the obvious answer to that one.
Oh,
We've gone deep into that, so I'm going to move on to if for someone listening who feels stuck, what's the first step in tapping into their intuition? We're getting some
we're
practicalities
going
of
into
this.
intuition. Well, if you and I both know about intuition, but some people out there might not. It sounds fluffy, right? This is
Yeah.
the thing. And this is where, we actually don't, we teach intuition. It's something that can be taught.
Mhm.
It's something that you can learn the same as you learn a language. And it is your language though. So you have to actually put the effort in to learn how your intuition speaks to you. But in saying this, we call it intuition, but it's a super conscious connection. It's your higher connection to everything. And we are on a soul level. We are connected. Where most people can understand that, and most people on a spiritual path can understand that we are all connected, and we're connected to everything through all space and time. And we use intuition to connect to that wisdom, connect to our higher selves, to our higher wisdom, to our higher observation of things, our higher perspective, or our creative perspective of things. And it can sound, people can go, oh, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
can tune out because they don't understand it on a structural level. It
I feel
is
that
just,
resistance in myself every time it comes up. I've been doing this
yeah,
training for years, and even just now, I'm like,
I
I
want to
want to
talk
explain
about
it. I want to,
intuition.
yeah, yeah. I want to intellectualize it, right? That's the
Yeah,
which I in some ways I can, I think because
yeah,
but
and understanding it from a structural point of view, from a consciousness point of view of how your consciousness works. You've got to see it from that perspective, and you won't trust it. We're not taught in school to trust follow our intuition. We're not taught by our parents to follow our
no,
intuition. Mostly. We're encouraged to.
taught to control and cover your bases and make sure you've got everything sorted out and don't make
Yeah.
any mistakes. And yeah,
Yeah, know how everything is, get everything perfect, be a good person, all of these things that take us away from our higher understanding of things. And we do have a higher perspective on things, and it's available to us all of the time.
yeah. I think an example of me, we talked about that Alan Watts quote before, but I was listening to him once. He spoke about how the they, like a fruit tree fruits
Mm,
the planet Earth peoples, right? And I like this idea that we literally are just part of the natural unfolding of the universe. Now that's a
yeah,
lot easier. We talk about and that's where when an orange grows on an orange tree, it doesn't have to intellectualize itself and figure it out. It is connected to the
yeah,
whole thread, the tapestry of the universe unfolding. It just the flower blooms and it becomes an orange. Similarly, a cheetah in the morning going out to chase an impala or something doesn't sit there and hatch a plan and get it like it's just in tune with, it just knows what, inherently knows what to do because it allows itself, it doesn't get in its own way. I saw a quote on LinkedIn yesterday. Someone was quoting Terence McKenna, and I've heard this before. And it's the same of if you don't have a plan, then you're at the mercy of somebody else's plan. And another one of those quotes where it's gone, that's not the truth. Because
No,
what kind of orange has a plan? What kind of cheetah? What kind of, like, the universe doesn't, the universe
doesn't
of it
have a
very
plan.
very observedly doesn't work that way. This is a
Yeah,
human
yeah.
construct, right?
Yeah, we're part of nature. This is the thing. Nature
Yes, that's what.
doesn't have a plan, yet it works itself out. It has, but it has, and this is what I love about this. This is like nature doesn't, it doesn't intellectualize things. It does what's necessary. It responds. It
Yeah,
responds. It
yeah,
doesn't
and that's what we're
react.
talking about getting in tune with. It's getting off all your intellectualization and applying
Yeah,
your human constructs of how you think things are, and getting underneath that and allowing yourself to be who you are. I think that's a one way of looking at it and going, when talking intuition, it's almost getting in
yeah.
touch with yourself, right?
Yeah. If you're a tiger,
It's,
be a tiger. Don't try and be a leopard. If you're if you're a zebra, don't try and be a leopard. Like it's pointless.
yeah,
It's pointless. But in saying that, like you touched on a really cool thing that we are a part of nature, and
yeah, we're natural beings. We forget that as humans, don't we?
we do. We don't. We separate ourselves from everything. We believe that we're separate from everything, but we're not. We're connected to everything, and everything. Nature has a way of working things out, and naturally we have an innate knowing, and nature has an innate knowing of how things need to be, when it needs to rain, when it like when what when there's pests in the garden, what happens, what the trees do, and when you look at I've been reading the hidden life of trees recently,
Yeah,
and there's this really cool thing, that where he talks about the acacia trees in Africa. When the giraffes come, they nibble at the leaves. They automatically respond, and albeit very slowly because they're trees, and they release a chemical that alerts the acacia trees downwind, that there's giraffes and they're eating in the area, and it changes the flavor of the leaves so the giraffes move on. And there's this communication that's going on that's beyond our perception. It's beyond, and it's a response to survival, and it knows what to do. It just knows what to do. It
yeah.
doesn't think about it. It hasn't, it's not intellectualizing it. It doesn't have a consciousness about it, even that we know of. Let's say
No.
that. I'm open to that being different, but it's a beautiful example for me of just like, yeah, when we let nature do its thing, it just sorts itself out. And yes, there's chaos, and yes, there's pain, and yes, there's destruction, but there's also beauty and wonder and awe and incredible ways of being. And we're the same. When we don't mess with our innate way of being, we allow ourselves to just, we just take the pain out of life. We take the struggle out of life. We take that stress, and you can just accept that, yeah, I can be completely chaotic. I can be completely insane. I can, all of that happens within me. It
But
all
isn't it
exists.
fucking scary?
Well, it is when you lose it, right? It's only scary because we resist it.
Yeah,
It only is scary because we're scared about what that means about us, of what we think that means about us. And what we think it means is that we're going to die.
Yeah, well, it is.
ultimately.
Yeah,
We think that that means if, if I'm chaotic or if there's chaos or conflict or stress in my life, that then I'm going to die
yeah,
and or be abandoned and then, you know,
yeah.
or rejected and die.
I
Ultimately,
mean, I've
here we
got
go
this
down.
almost beyond it, obliterated. Right? It's often words I've used for this sense of,
Yeah.
you know, I need this deep sense of need to control things, need to
Mm,
make sure all the ducks in a row, get it all sorted, know everything's, because if I go out and share my truth and share who I really am, I'm gonna be washed away in I'm gonna lose myself in the great
yeah.
abyss of the universe and become less than nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's this
Yeah.
deep terror of obliteration. Oh,
Yeah. I need to have a plan. Like we go back to what you
yeah.
originally said, is I need to have a plan. I laugh when people say, I've got a 5-year plan. I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. Sure, make a plan, but be open to it changing.
Yeah.
Be open to it changing. Like that's we've all got to, obviously there's a certain level of planning and
Do something
taking.
different. You ever tried not planning?
Have you ever tried not planning? See what that looks like? Going with what your intuition tells you, what your higher perspective is, rather than and that's different to the going with the flow people, because that's another thing I'd like to challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, well, okay. Because
Why
that's a
that?
that's a really good point. Because it's easy to go down one end and go, you know, and have a go at planning. And if you need to plan everything, let go of that. But it's easy to go, okay, then it must be this way, and that means don't plan and don't, right?
Yeah,
Whereas,
and that's compensating too, because what that does
yeah,
is that just says I have no will. I've just got to go with whatever happens.
yeah,
Not true. It's not a true story.
right. And if this we'll get into what do we call it? Pure intentions and things on that. I think that's we
Yeah,
talked about that before. We're talking about the help. Why are you doing it like
yeah,
that? If you're making a plan because you feel you need to protect yourself and control things, then that's the wrong reason for the plan. If
yeah,
you're letting go of the plan because plans are wrong and you've got no power, so you might as well just let go. That's the wrong reason for it, right?
yeah,
It's what are you creating? What do you want to create? What do you need to do to create that? Kind
yeah.
of
Why
is the
why are you creating that? Why are you going for what
yes,
you're going? And that's a really good question, because this was me. What I was going for in my life was just the opposite of what I didn't want.
hmm
And by doing that, I was focusing on what I didn't want, and I created more of what I didn't want. And that fear, whatever it is, we all have them, and we think that what that's our truth. We believe that that's our truth. That going for trying to get away from what we're scared of is the truth of what we really want, and it's not. It's
I
not.
was under that illusion for years, even after this training for a long time.
Yeah,
Even thinking that I've woken up, I'm going for what I really love, and it wasn't until it all fell apart and I had to build up from scratch, and that was everything that I was going for was just gone.
yeah,
Oh shit! I didn't want. That's not what I really. I could see it in hindsight. That are 2 decades of my life devoted to the wrong thing.
yeah,
It's almost like the universe took it in its own hands and shattered it all apart
yeah,
because it was sick of waiting for me to wake up. I think that's kind of been my experience, and I finally just saw that like now that it's all fallen apart, I realized how much I didn't fucking give a shit. What was I, 20 years of my life going after
something you
thinking I could
actually
make
didn't
little
even care
tweaks,
about.
right? Yeah, if I
Yeah,
just, I'm at my job, I'm not happy in my job. If I just tweak this a little bit and go for what I love, then my job will be better. So forget the fucking job, right?
The job's not that job's not the real thing. I mean, but that's the prison we live in, is that we think that that's all we've got to work with.
Yeah.
We perceive that what's in front of us and how we feel about it and how we think about it is all we've got to work with, and it's far beyond that. I mean, that's the most mind-blowing thing about this work is our even our limitlessness we see through the eyes of our perception.
Hmm.
And you know, the more you open yourself up to the wisdom that you have access to, you know, the your ability, your self-responsibility in creating what your own life and being self-responsible in your life, and being open to knowing yourself on all levels, all the things about yourself, the great stuff, the stuff we don't like, all of that is you know, it makes you powerful, that beyond what you can imagine, beyond what you can imagine. And that's you know, it can seem far-fetched when you haven't practiced this or you haven't been introduced to it. But I assure you, when you you know, we introduce people in the natural success curriculum in a very structured way, so that they have a concrete understanding of consciousness and how it works, and you know, we give you an example of it by letting you practice it, and
Yeah.
that starts defying the belief. It starts removing those limitations. It starts exploding your world as you thought it was. Like, life is not as we know it, Jim. You know, like, this is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That experiential experience of, you know, some of the
yeah,
exercises I know William takes you through, especially that definitions exercise. It's an interesting one. You can actually sit there and change your definitions of what you're looking at and have a different internal
mm,
response. Right there
mm,
on the that you can practice that and go, my perception of what I'm looking at is, but whether it's not like things transform and look completely, but you just get a different sense, and it's very palpable that different definitions can change the way you interpret things on
yeah.
very fundamental levels.
It's powerful.
You're just mentioning about that experiential awareness of that question here of how do you recognize the difference between intuition and fear-based thinking, and it might be a very hard one to
Yeah,
get
let me
onto, I think.
sum that up in a pocket. Well, I mean, it goes to what you were just saying. You have the experience of it, and you get to know how your intuition speaks to you and how to unpack it. And you only do that by practicing. Like, it's like we say the same thing. It's like, if you want to be a yogi, you don't go to one yoga class and you become a yogi.
Yeah.
It's a practice. You don't become a lawyer by going to law school, and you become a lawyer by practicing law.
Yeah.
You know, you get good at it. You don't get good at Similarly, if you don't get good at speaking a language by not speaking the language,
Yeah.
by hearing someone else speak it. It's you have to work it out, you know, how your intuition speaks to you. And when you are practiced at it, there is a ring to the truth. There's a ring to the truth that can't be denied by you or by anyone else. Like,
Yeah.
it's there. It's there. When someone delivers me information from a higher connection, from their superconscious, whether I like it or not, I have to receive it. You know, whether it's something I was prepared to hear or not, it doesn't matter. I choose to receive it because I choose it as I receive it as the truth, because
Yeah.
it's being delivered in truth, and it has a ring to it. So it's just like, yeah, okay, okay,
Yeah. I
and you
think
just defy your beliefs by acting on it.
yes.
That's it. By acting on it.
Then you get that reinforcement experiential.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, try it,
reinforce that.
act on it, see the result, and then you get that It's funny, ironically enough, that seems to be that egoic looking at the past and acting on. If you change your behavior and you change the way you approach things and you start to get better results, that just shores up that in the other direction, you start building a much more powerful structure.
Yeah.
Because now you've got past experiences of a different reality, right?
Yeah, it's a
It's
muscle. It's like building a muscle at the gym. You use it, and the more you use it, the more it comes to you, the easier it flows to you. You build a new relationship with trust. Trust doesn't become a condition of receiving information. You build a new level of trust with your own intuition and your own connection and your ability to connect to a higher perspective or a higher vibration or higher information,
yeah,
whatever you want to call it. Yeah, you learn to defy your beliefs by following through with what you receive, by acting on it. It always
yeah,
comes back to the actions, right? It always comes back to the
yeah,
actions. I act on what I receive. And this is the thing. If I receive something, and when you start practicing this work, and I know you'll relate to this, you kind of go, I don't know if that's true. What is wrong with getting it wrong?
yeah,
Like if I follow what I'm getting as I think is my intuition and it's wrong, so what? And it's wrong. So what? I've learned something.
yeah.
It's information, right? It's just more information for me. So I bank
Funny,
that, and then helps me build the muscle. So it's this idea that we have to get it all right, and it's
funny
I'm
enough,
gonna.
this podcast is a very specific example of things not making sense. Because I was working with my coach and we were
Mhm.
listening some choices, and we're down doing a land of plenty exercise. And I know because I already had a choice of my previous choices about building my YouTube channel, and then she started using the word podcast in when she's doing her intuitive reading, and I'm sitting, I want a podcast,
I don't
right?
want to
And
do it.
I sat on this choice for and but that willingness to just okay, I'm just going to go with that, right? It's come up. It's been, it's interpreted in the land of plenty, and it's sort of, and there was very thing closely related to, and to be honest, in hindsight, it was in mine. I just wasn't seeing it, right? I kind of, because I'm loving this, right? And then, but then for a while, it's like I don't want to, like it was really I don't want to do that, but I allowed it, and I've allowed it on my choice, and let myself work through that choice and feel into the experience of what it would be like. And now I'm at it's episode 2, but I think the last one is absolutely fantastic. This one's great, and I don't have those feelings anymore. But this is like really important to me all of a sudden, and you're like
Yeah.
really interesting to go. Well, my thoughts and feelings would tell it, we're like, nah. Like it was, yeah, I don't want to do that.
I
And it
don't
doesn't
want
make
that.
any. It's like that's I
Yeah.
don't want. I've got enough shit to do already, right? That's
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. It's not serving me. Like
yeah.
we
I've got
don't know.
other. I
We
want to build
know.
a YouTube channel, not a podcast. What the hell? What? Like it's and then kind of in hindsight, so what? They're inherently the same thing anyway. Like but um to an extent.
Yeah,
So
but
moving on to what are some practical tools or daily habits? So we're touching on that, 2 daily habits that you can cultivate for intuitive
oh,
decision making.
yeah. Yeah. Well,
What have we got?
where do we go with that? For practical tools and daily habits, intuitive decision. Well, it's practicing intuition. Like I said, it's practicing. It's actually practicing allowing yourself to be with the pain and move from a lower perspective to a higher perspective. And there's lots and lots of tools that you
Mm-hmm.
can use to do that. There's not one right way, and there's no right way, wrong way. There's lots of different tools that you can use, and we actually use one very clever one is a tool that we actually use definition to help us step into a higher perspective. So we can define a space and step into that space to get information about a thing, whatever it is. It might be a decision that we want to make, or something that we would like to create, or something we want to do. We use definition as a way of gaining information about the truth of where we're at,
Yeah.
what's our conflict, what's our resistance, and then moving to a higher perspective. And we use definition to that, but you can use questions, you can use processes. There's one that you've mentioned already, is your choices, which people who haven't done this work probably wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
Is that we establish a true set of choices, like a true set of choices, and what we mean by that, they're intentions. They're
Great.
intentions
I
about.
love that word. I'm going to
It's a
take that and
great
use that
word.
from now on.
They're
How do I
intentions
how do I
about.
communicate this to people that don't know what I'm talking about? Intentions.
Yeah,
Great.
they're just
Yeah.
intentions, and they're guideposts to how what our vision is for ourselves, how we want to exist in the world, how we want to express ourselves in the world, what we want to create, what our soul's mission is, what our purpose is, what they're actually just intentions about what truly matters to us, what truly matters to our souls, not what we're scared of. They're not the opposite of what we want to get away from. They're the truth. And we have a way of helping people get to that in natural success. But you can get to that. It's easy to dispose yourself of your ego and your identity, and step into your heart and get a true vision for yourself and your life and what you want to create. And like you said, we actually make those intentions every day. And it only takes 6 minutes. It takes me 6 minutes. I'm done.
Takes me ages. Takes
You
me
can
ages.
spend longer in it if you like, but
Yeah.
15 minutes
I know that's
tops.
part of my resistance. I've been so
Yeah.
long. So
Yeah,
that's
and
me.
it's really just saying, and you don't have to do anything. You just have to remind yourself that this is my guide for how I want to live my life, or
Yeah.
what's true for me, or what's true for me to create, and how I want to exist in the world
Yeah.
from a
And
heart soul level.
I know from a choices perspective, I make a point of, we could call it doing my choices, but being with those intentions is probably a great way to put that every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just don't feel like, we don't always feel, sometimes I'm on fire and everything's great. You wake up in the morning and it's going to get those out. This is
Oh,
where I'm
yeah.
at. And other days you just, I'm
Yeah.
scatterbrained. I've got other things going on. And I've had
Yeah.
to learn to go, sometimes those days it's just, what are they? What the choices are? It's this, it's that, it's that. You go, that's enough, right? I've kind of, sometimes I've said, allow myself to go. I've put my energy there. I haven't got much to give today. Like, it's kind of allowing myself to just be with them, because I kind of go. It just brings you back on that. It's a goalpost. It's just, where am I going? Right?
Yeah.
What's there? And it keeps it so. Sometimes it's great to sit down and get your map and go, where am I going? This is where I'm going to be. And other times, if you haven't got it in you, just, we're going there, right? And just remind yourself where it is, because it's so easy to forget what your original, say, end result, but destination was. You
Yeah.
go on.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's there's a language around this that I'm really careful with, because I just go, you can live, and this is the misconception. You can live your truth right now. It's not something that's down the road. It's not something that one day you're going to wake up and all your choices have manifested, and then you're living it. You do it now, and that's what those intentions are, is to keep you living in alignment with your truth.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of them as, how you've got the bowling alley in there. How they've got the bumpers that come up when
Yeah,
they're like bumpers. They
yeah,
just keep you in track of living your truth, living true to your heart, to what your heart really wants. And we don't have to it's they're not separate to us, that we're living this now. And this is a misconception with, with humans in general, is that we want to be a certain way, and once we achieve that, then we'll have what we want, and then we'll have joy, and then we'll have, and like you said, even with this podcast, it wasn't something that you thought you wanted, but you're getting immense joy out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And pleasure, and like there's things that are ignited in you
Yep.
because you're doing it, because you followed through with it. So it's like, yeah, you're living your truth now. This is it.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait till you've become a yogi to enjoy life. You don't have to wait till you've
Yeah, it's an
achieved
interesting,
it.
because it's like my choices aren't right. That's one of the things I really liked about learning the choices exercise through William, because I've done so many goal setting things before. I've done seminars, which were great seminars and stuff, but you do goal setting, and it's so you always end up with the, oh, I want to be financially free. I want to have a great car. I want to have a loving wife that's beautiful. I want to go on holidays. Like all this stuff. But when this exercise that we do with William in at the end of Create Your Destiny to get your first set of choices, you come up with a very different set
Yeah.
of things where I do have relationship choices, but it's not, I want a beautiful wife. It's more about what's the essence of what that feels like. It's
What's that
fun, and
relationship look
I'm in
like? Yeah.
an intimate relationship with the best friend that we have a lot of fun like that. It comes in that sort of
Yeah, it's
package.
completely different.
Yeah, I want a podcast that serves people by challenging conventional wisdom. There's nothing about, you know, what kind of podcast is. I don't know. It's a podcast that challenges conventional wisdom. That's the right, and
That's
that's
the intention.
yeah. And there's a few choices like that are just, and I think some people get much more specific, but my choices tend to be in there, and that's the kind of thing you sort of can
Uh,
have these things now, like one of the ones I got is being a loving and practical support to my aging parents, right? I My parents, I'm living in their house with them right now. It's like, right, I can just choose that all the
yeah,
time,
yeah.
right? And if I'm not experiencing that, that's my choice. Like that's because being a loving and practical support is something. The loving part, I've got full control over. The practical part, can trick myself into thinking I don't, but that's yeah, like that. Like that's I've always like that's the. It's funny how those choices are just right there for the taking.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's future aspects to them, but the essence of them
yeah.
is there right now. So
Yeah,
that's
the living, you're living it now. You're living it now. Even, there, you may have choices, that we may have things that we want to create. There's that seem very separate to us, or off in the distance, or even qualities about ourselves that seem like, there's lots of people that want to be leaders or something like that, and or even speakers, or running a podcast or a thing. Oh, so now I need to get more wisdom, or I need more practice, or I need to go and do we have an idea that we can't just do it. We
that's a
can't just
good.
take it. and
I
and
think that
it's
the podcast makes a good point on that one. The choice is not to be a really good podcast presenter or to be a public speaker. I don't have a choice
Yes.
to be a better communicator, or it's I want a podcast that challenges conventional wisdom. Go after
Yeah,
that. That other stuff will take care of itself.
it'll take care of itself,
Yeah,
because your greater nature has got this.
yeah.
It has. It has. It's doing it. It's doing it for you, and in ways that you can't know. And you can't know the effect of what your creations are going to be on yourself, on others, on the world. You can't be the judge of that. And you can just it's just your job to create it. That's it. Just create for creating's sake,
Yeah.
and, and let go of needing to know what that looks like, or how it's going to happen, or just just yeah, like let go of the ideas of the limitations that, on all the conditions that need to be in place for you to do it, because it's happening now.
Kind of looking through these questions because we're doing such a good conversation. I've got to go through these and go, what have we
I don't
already
know,
covered and what
are we
haven't we
are we
already?
going off
Uh,
track?
no, it's one of the see, this is one of the process of this. You try and we talked about plans before. Like we've got a structure and a set of questions here, and then the podcast has got its own nature that it expresses, and then you come
That's
back and
right.
you look at the questions. You go, we've already talked about that, but in different wording. So I'm just taking a moment to go. We've been down here through. We're going to jump right down here to because let's talk about natural success for a moment,
Mhm.
because particularly probably the create your destiny process. One of the things we've just been speaking about is some of the exercises we do and how to get in touch with your intuition. And what comes up for me a little bit is that there's a certain experiential necessity for that. Call it an initiation
Yeah.
that being able to just explain to somebody like you can't learn to swim from a book kind of thing. And I don't. It seems a bit salesy, but it's sort of one of the steps. I think you need to find somebody who's got this experience, got this knowledge to help you show the way, so that you can actually experience it and they can take you in there. There seems to be no way around. I think some people stumble on this and just inherently. I think some people inherently sort of are born connected to this, get a bit lucky, where they kind of know how to get in touch with their intuition, and other people need to be shown how. So if you, I feel like if you are one of those people, get a coach or somebody who can lead you into, get in touch with people in this community who can sort of lead you in that uh, to an extent. Because I find it a struggle to tell people how to do a definitions exercise. You can explain it, but without coming and going through the experience,
Yeah.
it's you're not going to necessarily know that you're not still in your ego just doing other things. So I'm resisting. I'm going. I don't want to sound salesy and fanboy and go. You got to go do the courses. I'm trying to avoid doing that,
Yeah,
but
you
I'm
do. You got to
also
go and do
that's
the
exactly
courses.
what it's exactly what I'm saying because I can't. I'm here and I
Awesome.
go. There is no other way.
Yeah, if
I
it's
mean,
if
I'm
it's
sure there's
something.
other people that train similar things and they're valuable as well, but this is the one I am aware of that I know worked for me.
Yeah, look,
Right?
there's lots of
So
things out. Yeah, there's lots of things out there that work. There's lots of things out there that work. There's lots of great work happening in the world. The reason you would come and do this, and I'm not doing this to be salesy. I'm doing to tell the truth. This is my experience. Is the difference between what I had experienced before and the work that we do in natural success is that natural success empowers you in being self-directed. It doesn't try to fix you. It doesn't try
mm,
to change you. It doesn't impose a belief system in you. No right way. What it entrains you in doing is being self-directed, directive in life, like self-referenced, coming, doing things from a personal power, for your own personal information, from your own source of wisdom, not looking outside of yourself. And I was guilty of that for 30
mm-hmm.
years, looking outside of myself for someone to fix me, what I thought was wrong with me. And what I love about natural success is that it empowers you to be self-referenced, which is that's empowering, right? Telling someone how to be is not empowering. Telling someone, you need a coach and you've got to, that's the only way to do things. I
Yep,
mean, yeah, we have coaches. Yes, we have community. Yes, we have practices and things like that. But if it's not true for you, don't do it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
don't do
That
it.
is that's there are some people who just don't want like that's everybody's their own sovereign person to do how live their life however they
Yeah.
bloody well see you. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
yeah, it's so easy to want to tell people how it is,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love it because it's just we give people the information and we go, try it on. You
Yeah.
try it, because it's only in them practicing it and applying it in their lives that they're going to get the change. They're going to have the experience. And the first Create Your Destiny. It's a 5-day intensive. I paid for it way back when. I think I paid
Mm-hmm.
$1,000 for it way back when, and I would pay 10 times that amount now.
Yeah.
It's free now.
Yeah.
So we're
I
giving
know.
it
I paid
away.
for it too.
We're giving it away for free. Like when COVID hit, it was like, William was very, very certain that this work needs to be out there. We need people to start being self-responsible, self-directed, creative, out of their stuff, not living in fear, like that. That's what the world needs. So he's very graciously offering the first 5-day intensive training for nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, well, why wouldn't you try it on? Just try it
Yeah.
on for size.
Yeah.
Why
I
wouldn't
mean,
you try it
that's
on?
William's one of the first. Well, let's say that his book, The Magician's Way, I read that many times. It's the first book I've ever read more than once. Right?
Yeah,
Because
it's a
it's just
great book.
you read a book and it's a chore to go back and read it again. You feel like you've got what you needed, and then
Yeah.
but for some reason, The Magician's Way, I read it and it's like that's just that.
The
I like
lights
that.
came on.
Well, yeah, but still couldn't see, and so I read it again, and I'm like, "There's juice in here." Read it again, and go, "I don't get it." And I read it a number of times before I finally, like sort of bullshit happened, shit went bad, and it's like, "Fuck, I gotta fucking go and get a coach." Ended up
Yeah.
getting in touch with the Natural Success office in London, who put me on to Ian down here in Melbourne, and so I coached with
Yeah.
him, and he's like, "Go and do the training." That's not how he
Yeah.
was, but it's like slapped me around the head and said, "Go do the training. Stop trying to learn it from a book." Right? Which and then I went to and it's funny how going do the training, it's suddenly now I can read the book, and it's like reading a different book. It's like it makes
Yeah,
sense now.
it integrates it. It's a very
Yeah,
practical. It is a very practical. I mean, it's not like most other courses where you can kind of drop in and drop out and watch a recording. We don't even record it
yeah,
because you have to be there to have the experiences to learn it, to internally learn it, to start changing. Your move
yeah.
you
Because
from
there's
the
not really any
limiting idea.
practical things in the book that you can. It's all
No.
parable and stories and new ways of thinking, and there's no here do this, then do this, then do this, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. You can't.
Yeah, always comes back to the actions. The actions change everything. It changes your perception. So, yeah, I would encourage anyone who's interested to come along and just try it out. Try it out.
Okay, I like this one. So
We're moving down into the
yeah,
depths of
I want to start
questions
talking
now.
about effortlessness, because
Ooh,
you've mentioned it on your website. You read through it. We talk about shifting from striving to effortless creation.
yeah,
We've
yeah.
we've sort of touched on this, but what does effortless creation actually look like?
In practice,
Yeah,
effortless creation. Um, it doesn't mean not applying your will. That's what it doesn't look like. Um, what it looks like is actually being guided from the higher. It looks like not having to have it all figured out, not just going with your intuition and not having to have it all figured out, not needing to know how it's all going to turn out. And my experience of I'm facilitating this work. When my first land of plenty, which is where we go to establish our true vision. When I stepped into that vision of myself, I was teaching this work, and as soon as I came out of that I started negotiating with that,
yeah,
and I went, I started negotiating with that. But the more I did the work, the more intuition I was getting. Is like, yeah, you're aligned with this. This is what your soul's mission, helping people understand the truth of their power, and stepping into their greatness, and all of those things. They're all in my vision of my mission, of what I'm here to do, what I'm here to create. And, even though it didn't feel true for me to be facilitating this work, I had no idea that I had the capacity to do this. I was so far beyond my reach. I developed these choices, and I just kept saying yes to the things that aligned with my choices. And that's effortless, right? It's just like going, okay, this opportunities arise. Is this in alignment with my truth? Is this, what is this, a yes or a no? Like,
Yeah.
and it might feel terrifying. But it's like, yes, this is in alignment with my choices. And through that, I've come to facilitating this work. And that was, it's not me. It doesn't mean that I've put no effort towards it, or I've put no energy towards it, because I certainly have. But I've put energy. It's effortless to put energy towards saying yes to something that's true for me. And it's really energetically sucking to go against that. Like, it's painful for me, just like you said, if if things are not going towards what I want, and I'm trying to avoid it, that's a lot more painful than actually accepting that this is my truth.
And
This
then
is
there's a
my
lot of effort trying to get things to go in the
yeah,
direction that they're
yeah.
not wanting to go. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's shocking. Like, I did put a course together recently, and it was quite easy to do. And to my surprise, there's a whole lot of people that want to join me on this course. And it's not, my perception of it is like, oh, it's going to be hard work, and I'm going to have to do all this. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It was
Yes,
easy.
there's things to do. Yes, there's action
Yeah.
to take. But when it's true action, it's an action that is in alignment with what I want to create. It feels effortless in a lot of ways. It doesn't mean I don't have tension. It doesn't mean I don't feel stress, because anyone that's ever facilitated anyone would be a complete liar to say that they don't feel tension or stress when they go into facilitating something. They do.
The image
Yeah,
that's coming to mind when you explain that there's action to take, but in comparison to unaligned action, it's a lot less
yeah,
effort. What I see in my head is sort of almost like going down the whitewater rapids in your little canoe. If you
yes,
go with the rapids, right? There's still it's not like there's nothing to do. You've got to stay upright. You've got to keep yourself up. You've got to have your wits about you and flow through. But if you try and go the other way, right, it's going to take a hell of a lot more fucking effort to go up the
yeah,
stream than it is to go down.
yeah,
Right? And
yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
the
That's
when you're speaking, that's what
yeah,
the,
yeah. Yeah, so it's actually a good one to clarify, because when people say effortless, they just kind of go, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to go with the flow." It's like,
yeah. Well,
no, you
that's why I like the
actually have.
rapids. You are.
You are, but you
Yeah.
probably end up upside down if you
Yeah,
and
but you might end
drowning.
up upside down anyway. That's one of the things I find about this, though. I think that some of the exhilaration of life. We talked about tension at the beginning, because sometimes it's not going to be calm and peaceful. It's going to be
No.
fucking exhilarating, right? It's going to be like that. There's
Yep.
no exhilaration in
And it's
calm
scared
and peace and
shitless.
comfort and relax, and yeah, sometimes you're going to be shitting your pants, right, and having
Yeah.
the time of your life,
Yeah, yeah, shitting your
and
pants,
and
and not
sometimes
realizing, and not realizing what's happening, and what you following through with that is going to actually create for you, or how it's serving you, or how you define. You just can't know. You can't know, and yeah, it is your true vision will scare you. Your soul's mission will scare you. Your truth is going to confront you in some way.
mm,
And accepting that is just going, okay, well, that's just that's just my stuff, that's just how I think about it. It's how I feel about it. It doesn't determine what I create. It doesn't stop me from creating it. When my belief that I didn't have this ability to run these trainings, I mean, it's a bullshit.
Feel the fear and do it anyway kind of thing. And so I'm just going to do it.
And the more you do it, the better you get. And I'm still polishing it. I'm still learning, and I'm still getting better at it. But it's a matter of leaning into what scares you, and live, like we said with the choices. You live in a way that you learn to live in a way that your beliefs don't exist, that your story doesn't exist, that your limitations don't exist. You just act in favor of the higher. You act in favor of your intentions, of your vision, rather than, how am I going to do this? Because the how engages your fears. It engages your beliefs. And the vision engages your higher perspective, because it's activating your imagination, because you have to imagine it, right? You can't just you can have a vision without imagining it. Like, you have to imagine it. You have to actually put it together in a way that doesn't make sense.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're touching on what I'm noticing about this work is, I'll take it back. I was watching, because I've been doing a lot of flipping stuff on eBay, so I'm watching a lot of videos on that. And one of the guys doing his eBay flipping channel is into personal development and success and stuff like that. And he's driving in his car, saying the same thing you hear before about you need to know your what or your why. You need to know your why. And I've heard that so many times, and it's my inherent what do you call it? It's not cynicism, but I just question it, and I think that's what I like about this work. Is it doesn't just teach you that you need to know what your why is. It teaches you how to discern what your why is. Right? I've never found anything else that really allowed me to get that. Like so many courses, you need to know what your dream is. You've got to have a vision. You've got to know your purpose, right? And then I go how to find your purpose and stuff, and you do all these like exercises that are similar in sense, but this is the first time William teaches you how to get very, very systematically how to get out of your own fucking way, right? And that's what those vision exercises are, because suddenly you're in a space where you've totally bypassed your intellectualizing, and you're in this world of because he starts doing symbol interpretation, because it's just nuts, right? I love his teaching. Just turn it off and just start making shit up, and it just bypasses all the intellects, and you come up with this stuff that's just like, I never would have got there using my intellect.
Never. You can't.
This is what I want. This is what I want to achieve. This is what I'm like. This is what my makeup is. These are the things I care about. You can put it all on paper and do all the exercises you like, but until you, this work teaches you how to just
stop making sense.
Intuit that's maybe when we talk about intuition, this is about hearing what your own heart's trying to tell you.
Yep.
About who you are and what you really love, right? It's probably and I've never had anything else get me to that, because they're all just teaching you how to figure out what that is.
Figure it out, and they're engaging. You're right, and it engages the how. It engages your egoic tendency and your beliefs to work it out, and you're never going to work it out. Think of all the wonderful things that get invented in the world. They don't get invented by people going how. They scientists and inventors and things like that, or people come up with ideas. They don't come up with them in the lab. They come up with them in the shower or driving their kids to school, or that it comes to them in what's seemingly a random way. Yep. And that's our intuition. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make sense, but we're addicted to making sense of everything. We're addicted to knowing how things are. We're addicted to knowing how I am and how I fit into the world, and what's, how am I How am I in danger here?
Yeah.
How am I in danger? That's the addiction.
Man, it's a lot of
And
fun going into the not making sense thing too. If you're willing to allow it just
yeah,
to let's
yeah,
have fun with this.
yep,
Not making
yep,
it feels frivolous and silly.
yep, yep.
And
Yeah, it's an incredible experience, and I mean I've taken a lot of people through this curriculum and through Create Your Destiny, and there's so many people that come into it and they just go, I don't, I'm not an imaginative, I'm not a creative person, like that. I'm not a creative person. That's the belief. I'm not a creative
yeah,
person. But we take them to a place where they're allowed to make it up, and they're like, oh, fuck, and I can make up whatever I want. Yeah, you can make up whatever you want. How
yeah,
about that? You can do that now. Anybody can just make up whatever they want.
yeah. There's no right or wrong about what you
No,
make up. No.
no, no, and it's this. It seems like this. Seems like we're doing something that's like, what, like this is
Childish.
it's childish. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's childlike. It's childlike. It's not childish.
Mm.
And when it's used in a structural way, it's powerful. It's powerful. And when you create from that, that's when new inventions come, new ideas, new ways of being. That's when real change happens.
This is where we touch on. I don't think we've used the word imagination, maybe in passing. We've talked about intuition and creativity so much, but now we seem to be on the path of using your
Yeah. Well,
imagine, right, and that's kind of seems to be your I put a post on Facebook recently about the imagination's not just a place you go to escape. It's the
mm,
it's the essence of reality itself, and I think that's where we're touching on it now. Is
yeah.
how do
Mm.
you get in touch with your truth about who you are and what you'd love? You fucking make it up. You use your imagination, right?
True.
There is no preordained that, or maybe it's the old paradox of maybe it's preordained, but the way you find out what it is by allowing yourself to just make. That's the bit that sets you free. I think is to just
Yeah.
you
It's
know
real freedom, right? Being allowed to just
yeah,
make
be an
up.
idiot, be foolish, jump into that reservoir of foolishness and make it up and go with it and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know and
Allow
that's where the
allow
fear
your
comes up,
mind.
goes, I can't do that, you can't, you have to.
Yeah, just go with what you're getting, go with what you're getting. And that's what intuition, when most people just use, something comes to them. It seems random, or they call it serendipity, or they call it, there's things that people call it. But when you learn how to tap into your imagination and see it for what it is and use it, you use it to create. We're using our imaginations every day because we're imagining how things are. We're imagining how I am. I'm imagining, how others are. I'm imagining how the world is, and it's not all of it's referencing the past. So you might as well use your imagination for something functional instead of the being stuck or oscillating in life.
You're absolutely right. We're going to be using our imagination whether we're doing it willingly or not,
Yeah,
which applying your will to apply your imagination for your own purposes rather than letting it run willy-nilly and do its own thing is
yeah, yeah. If we don't question what it is, if we don't question it, it's just, we're just being taken by the tide.
yep,
Just
we're either using
being
our imagination and mistaking it for reality, or we're deliberately using our imagination and
to
creating
create.
reality.
Yep. Yeah, we're
um,
taking responsibility for what we're creating rather than just letting it go. We're at the end already.
yeah, so we
Jeez,
are. I think we can
we could
start
talk
wrapping
for
this up.
hours.
I know we've covered so much.
We
I
have.
think
It's been great.
uh, I'd love to hear what people who are still listening at this end, what they've gotten out of this, because we've had a wonderful
Yeah,
conversation and covered so many topics that
yeah.
I've learned a lot and had to. It's great to sit here and just
Been good
listen and
conversation.
and share, and a lot of fun. So I guess if anyone's listening, go and enjoy your imagination and imagine what your life could be like, and find
Yeah,
someone to
well,
follow through. I guess.
yeah, we
Um,
use it. There's a, I don't know if you wanted to do a practical exercise about, and it kind of, it sums up there's a very quick exercise that you can do that sums up what we've been talking about, and we use our imagination to have that experience of, denying the pain, and everything that we talked from the start of this
mhm.
thing. And would you like me to take you just quickly, just take everyone
Sure.
through it?
Yep.
Because it's one of the things that we do in the natural success curriculum. But just imagine. So I just think of something about you. Think about something about yourself. It could be that you don't want to exist. It could be a character flaw or a state of being. It could be stress, anxiety, it could be laziness, it could be, unfocused. There's something about you that you don't want to exist.
There's lots of them, but yeah.
Just one. Just pick
Yeah.
one.
No,
We've all got.
I'll pick one.
We've all, you just pick
Yep.
one. Just think of something. Think of something that you don't want to exist, and focus on it. So just you can close your eyes and focus on it, and focus and keep imagining not wanting that in your life. Is something that you don't want in your life, and just notice is the more you think about you're imagining not wanting it in your life. I don't want it to exist. You wish it wasn't there. You wish it wasn't a part of you. You wish it didn't happen. All of those things, and just notice as you're focusing on and imagining not wanting it in your life, and just notice what happens to it. And notice what you want to do to resolve it. Notice what you want to do to resolve that, to get rid of it, to cope with it. And now imagine accepting it. Just imagine allowing it to be. Imagine you don't have to like it, you don't have to love it, but just imagine accepting it and just allowing it to be a part of you. And just notice what happens to it. Just keep allowing it and accepting it. Just being with it. And notice what happens to it, and notice what happens to you as you just keep accepting it and allowing it. That's the exercise.
Nice and simple.
It's very simple, but it kind of encapsulates the difference between our resistance and our acceptance of who we really are.
Like that little subtle difference in experience is,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, you feel
yeah,
it. Funny enough, as soon as for me just then, and it was such a small thing that I picked out of all the things I could pick, I just picked this, you know, well, it's seemingly a small thing, and how when you went, what do I do? How do I want to react when I want to get rid of that? It was like, whoa, like how much that controls my life for such an innocuous little thing.
yeah,
The amount of different actions I want to do, and as soon as you went into go about accepting it, it was kind of like, oh, I don't want to go into too much of what I was sharing, but it was a very different vision, like instantly for me in that case. It was a
yeah,
very instant embracing of it and seeing the power in it, and it's all imagination. That's a
yeah. It's
great
all
great example.
imagination. Yeah, and you can just let go of it and use your imagination in favor. And when you accept what you're resisting, it gives you space to take. This is what I notice. It diminishes. It doesn't disappear altogether, but it diminishes enough that it gives me space to see it from a different perspective.
Hmm.
And that's where okay, well, I act from that, not from the
Yeah,
pain. Like, I don't want this to exist. I wish it was never here. I hate
and it gives
myself.
you that choice, and that's where we've really got. I think that's where we really got the power. That's an exercise. Such a good example of you can choose to put your focus
Yeah.
over there, or you can put it
Yep.
over there, and
All
that's the
about.
choice you've always got.
Yeah.
And it's it that's the it takes will, right? You need to make that choice and take that conscious
Yeah.
action to move your intention to where it needs to be, and that's where
Yeah.
your power is, right? That's
Yeah. You have choice. You have choice.
such a simple example that demonstrates something very fundamentally deep. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you
It
for
is a
that.
great. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Well, thank you, Kel, for coming on. This is fantastic. Lots of fun.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, might go
Might do
full
it again
circle.
sometime.
Have you around again, and
We might get a specific.
get everybody on a merry-go-round, and we'll rotate through all.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for having me on. It's been a great experience, and even our dysfunctions coming into it. It's
Yeah,
been good.
well,
Been
yeah,
good discussions, and if any other discussions come up again, I'm up for it.
all
I'm up
right.
for it. I hope other people. I mean, I know we got something out of it, but I hope that other people get something out of it too.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, find someone else to listen to it.
Yeah, send it to somebody else. Share it with somebody else and discuss it with them. You don't have to agree with us.
No,
Just,
no
yeah,
conflict.
yeah,
Have conflict with us.
yeah. I have conflict with it. I'm okay with that.
All right. Thanks everybody. If you're still here, thanks for sticking with us till the end. And
Yeah,
this is episode number 2. Come back for episode number 3,
yeah.
and we'll have
I'm excited
another
for
great
this
chat
podcast.
with. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap it up. Thanks very much. See ya.
Thanks, Evan.